On to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a Scout Report show where we are looking into the attributes and whatnot of Carlos Alcaraz, the Argentine midfielder, apparently coming in on loan from Flamengo, the Brazilian club. He's bounced around a lot in the last year or so. I think this time last year he just left Southampton on loan to Juventus. He's played in the Premier League before with Southampton, of course. So we've got Martin Sanders on the show. Um, of course, well versed in Southampton FC, and can give us some insight into what he brought to the table at Southampton. So we'll get straight into it. Welcome back to the channel, Martin. I think you've been on with us before, haven't you?
I have, yeah, great work what you're doing. I really enjoy your content. All things for Everton, I come to you guys, and I enjoy your content. So keep up the good work. It was interesting when Alcaraz was linked a couple of days ago. I was like, this is interesting, because obviously I know him well. I had the pleasure of meeting him actually as well. This year I met him at the Puma event at St Mary's. It was like pre-season, so just before the Premier League season was kicking off. It was great to meet him. Really, really, really nice lad, I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, like characters down up here at Everton, so that's definitely a good start. First and foremost, the question, the word on everyone's lips as we're debating this potential signing is what's he actually going by his first name? There's Carlos has been thrown around, and other people saying Charlie. What is his actual name, or at least what does
They
he go by?
they called him Charlie down here. When he was here, he was known as Charly Alcaraz. He always went under the name of Charlie. Yeah, he's an interesting player. I can pretty much give you a really good insight into him. Actually, I was pretty much at every home. Whilst he was at Southampton, I saw every home game that he played in. To be fair, I don't miss many home games. I travel away a lot, so I've seen a lot of Charlie.
But you clearly were, like you say, were very intrigued that Everton have suddenly become the front runner to sign him because
Mm,
he's been you obviously know quite a lot about him, like you say. What
mm.
what positions can he play in midfield? Because you see, everyone seems to have a different opinion on this, like what his
Mm.
best role is within the midfield. And obviously, Everton, we need a lot of cover in a few different positions. But what's his best position?
Yeah, he likes to play in behind the strikers, really. He's a ball carrier, Alcaraz, really. To be honest, he can play in the eight. He played in the false nine for Russell Martin for a period of time. I don't think he's the best false nine I've ever seen. I've got to be totally honest, but he can play that role. He's spent a lot of time for us, and he played more centrally. He's not a wide player, not really. He's not got enough pace to play wide and go and look. He can beat players, but he likes to pick up the ball sort of on the edge of your own box and drive with it and dribble with it and look to go past players and open up the play. And I always enjoyed watching him play Alcaraz, to be fair. I don't think the change of manager for him here helped him at all, because he was initially signed. It was through the transfer room. You heard of the transfer room that they do. He was one of those players that was on a radar that Southampton went to, and they got offered him. Um, and he was actually the best signing in that January window. So he signed for us in the January that we got relegated last time round. And it was all through the transfer room that they got him. I can't remember what the fee was, but it wasn't a huge amount of money. It wasn't a huge sum of money. Nathan Jones was the manager when he came in, and then we obviously changed to Ruben Selles sort of within a few weeks of Charlie coming in. It wasn't that long, really, to be honest. But he scored some good goals in that back end of that season. I think the standout one was probably against Leicester, a through ball, and he's got a good eye for goal. He's got a good eye. He's not going to score tons of goals, Charlie, but he will link play up. He will link. He will always look to link play up. But he does like to dribble. He does like to dribble with the ball, and that's probably why Russell Martin didn't favour him for whatever reason. Russell Martin didn't like him at Southampton, and that's why he went at the start of this season. It was just the fact that he didn't really fit into Martin's plans. He when we got relegated, like I said, he scored some good goals. There was another really good one at Arsenal, actually. It was a really good goal he scored against Arsenal. Well, we absolutely dominated Arsenal in that. It was right at the back end of the season when we needed relegated. and Alcaraz was the best player on the pitch that day. But he was brilliant. His link-up play, box to box, he was all over the park. He's got a bit of he's a bit aggy at times. So he likes to get a tackle in. Yeah, he has his moments. I'll be honest, he does have his moments, but he he's the sort of player that needs to be loved and looked after. And when Russell come in, Russell obviously clearly didn't favour him because he was a flair player, and Martin wanted to keep the ball tippy tap 4 and 5 yard passes. But Charlie wasn't that type of player. He was never going to play that way. So Martin kept him for the championship. I don't think Alcaraz really wanted to go to the championship, but he did. He looked for a move then. He was linked with Everton at that stage. He was linked with quite a few clubs. Got a very good agent. Been involved in that transfer room as well. He's got good agents, no doubt about that. And he played for the first half of that season. He played in the championship, but he was so in and out of the side. But he looked never the same in the championship. He scored some good goals. You would have seen them. The standout one against Plymouth Argyle was at home was really good. He missed a penalty. Can't remember, it was against in one game and then scored late on. It was maybe Sheffield Wednesday at home. And it just didn't work out for him under Martin. He was in and out the side and he was sulking, didn't look happy. He looked pretty pissed off. And then the move come to go to Juventus, and he went to Juve. And I was surprised when he went to Juve. He's never a Juve player. Not never ever, never ever a Juve player. Then he went there. Then he come back in the summer, did his pre-season for this season with us. So it was at Southampton. And then he went out on loan to no, he got sold to Flamengo, which is where I think you're purchasing him. Is it a loan with a view to
So
purchase? Is that what they're
it
saying?
looks like it's going to be a loan with an obligation to buy if he meets credentials or criteria.
Yeah. I wonder what the criteria is. It'd be interesting to see. It would be interesting. I wouldn't necessarily. David Moyes likes hard-working players, doesn't he? Players that are going to really graft, dig in deep, defend. He's not the sort of player that was gonna sit and defend. I'll be honest with you. He's just not. He's just not that sort of player. He's a flair player. He wants to get up the field. He wants to get up the field and he wants to get in around the edge of the opposition's 18-yard box. How he fits in, I don't know. And when I saw this a couple of days ago, I was like, interesting, interesting.
I mean, we are desperately lacking in flair players. I
Mm,
mean, our system's obviously quite old school in the fact that we get the ball forward quickly, but it would not
mm,
do Everton any harm to have more flair players in the team because our
mm,
current players are very workmanlike but lacking in
mm,
technical ability. So it's clear that David Moyes has spotted that he wants to bring in some more
mm.
technically gifted players. If that's what you're suggesting, that Carlos Alcaraz
Yeah.
is.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. He's a flair player. He's a bit of a luxury at times. When he's on it, he's brilliant. When he's like at it, he is a really good player. But when he's off it and he's out of form and he's not a sort of player you can bring off the bench and really influence games, I don't think. For me, he was a player that needs to start football games. He needs to start games. He very rarely played 90 minutes with us. Very rarely you see him play a whole game. He'd get pulled off because he's a sort of like he's a little bit of a luxury because the way he plays, and he's a bit of a risk taker. So he will give the ball away. And not in sometimes late in games you don't want players giving the ball away and giving the opposition the ball to hurt you. And that's probably why he didn't play. To be fair, Ruben Sellers didn't manage him very well during that final year in the Premier League before he got relegated last time around. He didn't manage him very well at all, and he played him as a false nine quite a lot, and played him in the eight um, for periods of time. But he would never play wide. He sort of play in the midfield three really, and he'd be that one that had the freedom to go.
Yeah, he seems like to suggest he's more of a number 10 type player.
Yeah, he could play a 10. I think he did do it for us over periods of time, but I think he likes to play deeper in midfield, really. I think he likes to, whenever we had him, he liked to drop into midfield. And we had a good midfield at the time. You think we had a midfield of James Ward-Prowse when he was with us in the Premier League, Romeo Lavia, and you'd have him in there. And those three were you look at it, it's quite a good partnership, really. You got a ball winner in Lavia because he's a ball winner. You have Prowse, who was really good with 2 and 3 two, sort of two touch football. He was really good. Touch, give, go. And that's what he'd do. And he give it to Alcaraz and just let Alcaraz run with the ball because he could do something that a lot of other players couldn't do. And yeah, he's young. He's got a lot to learn, but he definitely wanted a Premier League move when we got relegated. There was no doubt about it. He wanted to go to the Premier League, and obviously that it didn't happen. I think it was probably he was gutted it didn't. But he's got a big point to prove if he's going to come back to the Premier League. He has a big point to prove, I think, um, and he will grab it with both hands. When I met him at St Mary's at the Puma event at the start of this season, like his English is broken. I'll be honest with you, his English is quite broken. But I said to him, we're talking about his future, and he said to me, "I want to stay in the Premier League, Martin. I want to stay here." Um, he didn't want to go back to Italy. He said Italy didn't suit him as a player. I don't know why it didn't suit him, but he said it didn't suit him as a player. No, he said it was too slow. He said to me it was the game was too slow. So he wanted to stay and play in the Premier League with Southampton this year. He wanted to be a Premier League player, and I think he was always destined to come back, in my opinion.
So with him potentially coming back, you say he didn't really do much at Juventus. Obviously, he's been to Brazil. Coming back
Yeah.
here, this is definitely the fastest paced league he'll be coming to.
Mm.
And in that respect, he'll become David Moyes' first Everton signing of his second spell.
Yeah.
Signs anyone else this window, so he would be the first signing. Do you think he'd do well under Moyes?
I have a good feeling about Alcaraz. It's weird seeing him in an Everton shirt. When Fabrizio Romano put up the post with him on it, the mock up. I thought, oh yes, they look weird, it looked really, really, really weird. But yeah, I think he'll do well, I think he will do well. He get opportunities, there's no doubt about that. He'll get opportunities. We play you right at the back end of the season, the last ever game at Goodison Park as well, don't we? So
Oh, yeah.
that will be interesting to see if he plays in that. But it'd be good to see him back in the Premier League. A lot of Southampton fans are gutted that he's still not with us. Actually, we've ended up with a guy called Mateus Fernandez this year, very different to Charlie as a player. I still think Charlie would have fitted really well with our current manager, even Juric. He would have fitted really, really
Oh,
well in
he
his
seems like
system.
from what you've described, Charlie Alcaraz, he seems like a carbon copy of his personality.
Yeah.
Ivan Juric is a very animated player, and I think
Mm,
he was a similar sort of player to what you were saying. Alcaraz
mm,
is as a player. Juric, he played in Italy
mm.
mostly, but he was a quite aggressive midfielder. So that's
Yeah, it
that
was. Yeah.
seems to be what you're describing Alcaraz as well. But so
Mm.
yeah, apparently I mean it's a good sign that, like you say, Southampton fans are upset to see him come back to England with a different club. But do you think is there any sort of player you could compare him to that you'd say was similar in maybe playing style? Someone maybe who uh,
It's a
English
difficult
fans
one.
might.
It's a really good question. I'm trying to think of who I can compare him to. It's a tough one, really. He's not like he's got bundles of pace. Though he goes past players, he's not like a really quick player. Like he travels with the ball, but he isn't like rapid with the ball. He's not going to kick it and run. Do you know what I mean? He likes the ball. He likes it close control. I'm trying to think of any players he kind of not really. I think he's quite unique. I've got to be honest. I think he's quite a unique player. I really do. He's got a lot about him. Yeah, like I said, he's got a red card in him. It's pretty sure he's sent off for us a couple of times, but he's got a red card in him.
Uh,
Has got a red card in him.
well, that's very similar to our the last Argentine who pulled on an Everton shirt. It was Ramiro Funes Mori, the centre back, and he
Mm.
knew how to get himself a red card.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
seems to be a streak in the Argentines that sometimes almost over aggression. So that sounds like
mm.
something we can come to expect from Alcaraz.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, but Everton fans, I will say, do like those sort of players, those narky, feisty sort of players. So
Yeah,
in that respect, he may well take well. Do you think he'll take to Everton well?
yeah. It's a great club, isn't it? There's a Premier League club to go and play for. I'm not just saying it because I'm on your podcast and on your show. It's a massive football club, a huge football club, and I think anybody that's at Everton, you're going to want to go and play in the new stadium next season. I think, you're going to want to be a part of that. It's a big, big move. To go and play at Goodison's massive as it is. You look at every away fan at the moment. in the Premier League. Everybody wants to go to Everton because of how special it is to go to Goodison, that football club. And it's a, in terms of like, where you've been in the division and where we are, maybe similar positions, in times gone by. But now Everton have got an opportunity where they can really grow under a manager that's had such a good impact, isn't he? You look at what David Moyes has done since he's gone in. You had a proper new managerial bounce, but he looks to have really got your squad in a really positive light. You look at your result of the weekend; it was just absolutely magnificent. I think it's a great club for him. I think it's a good fit, and yeah, I think he'd do well for you, and I think he'd be hungry. I think he'd be hungry, and that's the biggest thing. When you sign players, you want them to be hungry, James. I think that's important, and he'd be hungry for the Premier League, and I think that's a real big asset in any player.
Yeah, I think hungry players will always go down well here at Everton as well. Fans
Yeah, and
like
you
to
have to
see
give everything.
players.
You have to give everything when you play for Everton, don't you? And the fans don't accept anything less. Like, I'm not putting our fan base down. It's a nice family club, but it's a little bit soft at times. And they often spoke about as Southern softies. There will be a lot more pressure on Charlie playing at Everton because the fans expect you can't sulk, you can't not give 110% because the fans will call you out. Um, because they're passionate about their football club. So he would have to give everything and he would need to buy into the football club as well. I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. Do you think he will buy in and give that 110%? Do you think he's prepared to give that level of commitment?
Yeah, I think he has to. And I think if he wants to be a Premier League player like he wants to be, and he wants to make a mark in the Premier League and stay there, he will have to take this with both hands and give it everything he's got because, how many more opportunities you're gonna get if it didn't go right this time round. So um yeah, he would have to yeah, he's young, isn't he? He's still a young boy, young lad. He's a good follow on social media. Actually, I still follow him on social media. Actually, um, I like a few of his bits every now and then, and he likes it back. I think he's a guy that buy into the fans. I would think as well, and I think you have to do that when you get over in football club. It's a big club.
We have to build an affinity with the supporters. I think that's one thing that David Moyes has already got some credit in the bank because he did relatively well here in his first spell for 11
Mm,
years. He stuck it out and
yeah.
improved us over that period. So obviously he's already got more credit in the bank than previous managers have had with us, and fans will give him a lot more time and respect for that, I think.
Mm,
And I think that's what you've got to strike up a bond with the fans quite quickly at Everton.
yeah.
If you do that, then
Absolutely.
you're winning half the battle.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, we'll finish up with so the deal was actually it's going to be a loan with an obligation to buy, and it depends on how many starts he gets actually. So the reported fee it's going to be 15 million rising to 18 million with add-ons. And I think
Mm,
that's subject to him meeting that criteria.
mm.
Would you say that this is a good move, firstly for Everton, and also would it be a good move for Charlie Alcaraz to stick around at Everton long term?
I think it's a good move for him. I think it's a great move for him to go and play for Everton Football Club. I really do. Um, will he play enough games? That'd be the big thing. Be interested if Moyes trusts him as well. He'd have to prove it in training when a lot's done in training, isn't it? How would you perform in training? Can he stay fit? I think that's important. He does pick up the odd injury because of the sort of player he is. He had little periods of times he got injured here. Stupidly, one of those was through a celebration that he had against Leicester and missed a couple of games with it because he pulled his hamstring, he tweaked his hamstring. I just think he needs to go in there and be really professional, train well, work hard because Moyes won't accept anything else. But he's under a proper manager here. It's not like he's working under. No disrespect to him, Ruben Sellers at the time at Southampton. He wasn't a Premier League manager, was he? He wasn't even a manager. Worked under Russell Martin, who's a young manager. David Moyes has been around the block. He's been around the block. He's one of the most experienced Premier League managers. If there's ever a man to come work under it and turn you into a proper Prem player, I think he's at the right place. I really do.
Yeah, I mean he seems to be back on the up career wise. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists in 19 games for Flamengo. So obviously that's an
Mm,
improvement on his time at Juventus, which was didn't deliver much. And
Yeah, very bit part, wasn't it? Juve didn't play a lot, did he? A lot of substitute appearances, I think.
yeah, I mean, obviously a lot more when he was with you guys in the Premier League and that half season in the Championship.
Mm,
Um, so we'd be looking for more along those lines where he can have more of an impact.
absolutely, yeah.
If he does, I think he will be a good signing for us. And obviously, like I say, we are short on flair players. So do you
Mm.
reckon it will be a good signing for Everton as well? Like you say, might be a good move for Alcaraz, but if he sticks around, would it be good for Everton Football Club?
Yeah, and I think that the beauty of a loan with with the option to buy, if he decides he's not good enough, he just won't play him, will he? And then he won't have to sign him. That's the beauty of that. This deal is what they're talking about. You know, he's going to have to hit criteria, and he'll only hit the criteria if he's good enough. And that's the beauty of it, really. So I think it remains to be seen whether he can settle quickly enough. Like I said, his English isn't brilliant. But he'll be looked after. There's great people around the club. I'm sure there's plenty of people that can speak his language. Portuguese, he'd be Portuguese when he was Argentinian, isn't he? So
They'll
yeah,
speak Spanish, but he's been obviously been in Brazil for half a season, so he'll have picked a bit of Portuguese up there. We've got
yeah,
a lot of Portuguese players actually at Everton, so
mm,
I
yeah,
don't think we've got any Spanish speakers though,
yeah.
surprisingly.
So yeah, I just think language is always difficult, but I think you just got to go and give it his all, and hopefully, I hope it works out for him. I'll be watching it. I think, and every Southampton fan will, because I think we were all disappointed when he went. I think we were all really disappointed when he went, and I don't think there's many in our fan base that wanted to see him go. When he went, I remember the X feed on what was formerly Twitter. You know, fans were really disappointed when Alcaraz went, because he was thought a lot of by the fan base. They liked him because he was a flair player. He used to you give it everything he's got. And yeah, I think I was disappointed when he went as well. I'm really disappointed, and it was the manager inevitably was the one that had the final say on that. Russell Martin.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously it's good to hear that you were disappointed to see him leave. That says
Yeah.
enough
Mm.
about him to say that he's an okay player and he'll hold his own in the Premier
Oh,
League.
definitely. Mm.
So all in all, we'll wrap it up there. But final say, would you say that it would be a good move? You got anything else to say about Alcaraz?
Yeah, I think it will be a good move. I think it remains to be seen what he can do in his opening weeks. I think you'll know within the first sort of like 6 weeks if it's going to work, whether he's going to fit into your system and your style of play, and gives the manager what the manager expects, because he will expect a lot. And I think it remains to be seen. I'll be very open minded on him. I think I saw a few Everton fans saying the other day they weren't like, oh yeah, Southampton reject. I don't think he really was a reject. I just don't think the style of play changed, and the manager didn't fancy him. That's all it was. And the manager, to be fair, wanted English talent, and not foreign talent, because it wasn't just Charlie that was ousted under Russell. Leslie Ugochukwu coming on loan, he didn't fancy him. Paul Noachu, a Nigerian international, didn't fancy him. Kamaldeen Silamana, a Ghanaian winger, didn't fancy him.
The
All of a
man has been
sudden,
decent for you since he's left.
yeah, since Martin's gone, he's got the best out of them. But I'll tell you what, he even would love a Charlie in his side right now. We could do with the Charlie Alcaraz. So I'm a little bit envious. I think there's a few Southampton fans that be envious. I think it remains to be seen if it work out from there. Big expectation, like I said, but I hope it does. I really do, James. I really hope it works out for him.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also, I think it's clear to see from listening to you here that you think very highly of him. You seem
Oh
to
yeah, I
be
do.
rooting for him
Think a lot of
as
him.
not just as a player, but as a person by the sounds. But you seem to really be rooting for him in that respect.
Yeah, no, I really like him. I thought he was a great guy. When I met him, I just thought he was I've got a picture actually on my phone of him in this Southampton kit, the red and white stripes from this year. And it was really sad just not to see him put those red and white stripes on for us in the Premier League. But just to yeah, I'll be watching Everton. If it all goes through, I'll be watching him, and I'll be looking out for him.
Well, fingers crossed to what could potentially
Mm.
be a decent little signing for us there. Thank you so much, Martin, for coming on the show and
You're
giving us
welcome,
your insight and teaching us that it's going to be Charlie Alcaraz.
Charlie.
That's what
Definitely
he'll be going.
Charlie.
That's what he'll be going by.
Yeah.
So there you have it, guys. That's the insight on Charlie Alcaraz. Let us know your opinions, guys. Anyone who's watching the show who knows a bit more than I do, maybe more on Martin's wavelength in terms of knowledge. If you want to give us your 20p as well. You have to give us all your comments. Let us know your opinions on Charly Alcaraz. And of course, give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Obviously, you can follow Martin. You're on X, aren't you? You're at
Yeah,
Football
no,
Martin.
yeah, you can follow me at Football Martin. My main channel is my YouTube channel. I create match day vlogs around Southampton. I've covered the whole of the transfer window, and I create football content, predominantly around Southampton, but Premier League. I do a lot of fan cams up and down the country when I go to games. So check out my YouTube channel. Go give it a follow if you want a bit of a. And do you know what? I'm not a biased football fan. I'm very honest about my football, and I travel up and down the country. And if the other team's good, I like to talk about other players from other teams. You can find me on X, like you said. I'm also a TikToker at Football Martin underscore on all the social media platforms. Any new followers would be absolutely amazing and would mean a lot to me. So yeah, thank you.
So there you have it, guys. Make sure you give Martin a follow as well.
Thanks.
As you can see from this video, plenty of insight to be had there. So thanks for tuning in, Martin, and thank you to you guys for tuning in on the Toffee Blues. We'll see you soon.